Alright guys, welcome back to another episode, and if you couldn't already tell, this is a whole new series. This is the how-to series. So before I get started in today's video, I really want to give a special shout out and a thank you to all of you new subscribers that came across my channel recently. A huge shout out to everyone who actually interacted with my last video. I was so blown away by the comments and shares on that video. For those of you guys who haven't watched that video yet, the link is down below. It's called Pool Noodle Tires. I decided to start a series on my channel. It's called Will It Ride? And the guy who came up with that name dropped a comment below in that video, and I'm linking his name right here. Shout out to you, man. You have the best name for this series, and I want to keep this series going at least once a month. I need comments, I need suggestions for what you guys think I should do next as far as replacing parts on my bike to see if it works, see if we can do tricks with it. And I want to keep this series going. But yeah, again, I just want to take a little bit of time to shout you guys out. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, and I look forward to what's coming next. First things first, always wear your helmet. No matter what anybody says, always wear your helmet. So what we're gonna do first, I'm gonna keep my shades on because it is really bright out today. All right, so I'm gonna be teaching an array of different skill levels with the tail whip, whether it be on flat ground, a wedge ramp, a quarter pipe, a box jump, a hip, you name it. We're gonna try it here today. Check the description below, click the timestamp to choose the skill level you guys are at. All right, so the key points you need to learn on flat ground before attempting this trick would be a bunny hop and a no-footer. And then you wanna join both of those tricks together. So after you've gotten really comfortable doing the bunny hop no-footer, the next step is trying to figure out which direction you wanna be able to do the tail whip. Me, I do the tail whip and I kick my bike to the right. And you want to practice that arm motion. You want to try to do it controlled. Every time you swing it around, it's fast and it's controlled coming in. So after you mastered like the lasso effect, you want to be able to jump from the ground to your pedals with no problems. That's something you really need to practice for the next step, because you want to be able to join both of these tricks together, making the bike go around 360 degrees, and as it gets to this point, jumping up off the ground and landing onto the pedals. I'll try to demonstrate real quick. Now the next step of the tail whip I want to show you is you want to learn how to bunny hop and get that controlled kick. When I bunny hop, I like to use my back foot to sweep the bike around to meet it to the lasso point, and then it'll come around next to you. And well, I'll give you guys an example. It's okay if you land and you land next to your bike every single time, and let it land next to you as many times as you want before you get the confidence to be able to jump on the pedals while it's in the air. That's gonna happen a lot. You wanna be able to try to figure out the joint effect of sweeping the bike around and meeting it at the right point so that there's no resistance between the bike coming around and meeting your arms in the right spot. I'll give you guys a couple more examples on exactly what it will look like when the bike comes next to you. And don't get discouraged if the bike lands next to you 100 times, 200 times. Eventually you're gonna commit and land on your bike. Feel free to comment below on exactly the issues you guys are having too. What point of the tail whip are you guys having the most trouble with? Now from this point, all it is a commitment. You just have to commit to that whole point where I showed you before, when the bike gets around to that 270 degree point, to jumping onto the pedals. The whole time that bike's going around, you don't want it out here and away. Out here and away means you really have to stretch your legs to try to get onto the bike. You want that bike, I always try to keep my chest centered over top of the stem. That way the bike is underneath me at all times, and all I have to do is watch the pedals come around and commit to jumping on them. I'm gonna give you guys a solid attempt at a hop whip. This is the first tail whip of the day. Not bad for the first one. So for this next part, I'm gonna put on my 360 camera to give you guys a first person point of view on what it should look like for you when you're doing the tail whip. If you guys haven't already seen the video, I actually have a video specifically on this camera. It's a Rilo 360 camera. This thing is badass. So this is what we're gonna do the tail whip on next. Basically, you're gonna take everything you learned on flat ground and apply it to the wedge ramp. And the only difference will be I actually think it's easier on the wedge ramp. The embankment will give you a lot more pop when it comes to doing the tail whip. Now don't be afraid to do those other steps that I showed you on flat ground here on the bank. All right, so this embankment will be a lot easier to do the tail whip on rather than flat ground. You should use all of those same things I just taught you there and apply it to here. But I'm gonna give you guys a step-by-step process, the way I did there, here on the embankment, so you guys know that it's okay if the bike lands to your side or if you land on your feet. And I'm gonna show you guys how to adjust your body in order to land back on the pedals. Now, I don't know if you guys can see right there, but like I took the bike and I threw it away from me because I wasn't sure exactly how it'd feel when I came up off the bank. And what you want to do is you want to try to keep the bike perfectly underneath you so you can spot those pedals as it comes around. Now, as you can tell, I really utilized the steepness of this embankment to be able to get the tail up all the way around. Now, from this point forward, it's very crucial that you guys commit to landing on those pedals with the tail up because a lot can go wrong. If you decide to give up halfway through, you'll do this thing, it's called a dead sailor. It is the worst feeling possible. The bike lands like this and you're fully committed to try to land on the pedals and then you just go down with the ship. Not fun at all. All right, so next step is once you've mastered the whip on the bank, you want to take it to a hip. Whether it be a 45-degree hip going a full whip direction or a 45-degree hip going a downside whip direction. We're gonna teach you both ways right now. The difference between the two hips and the tail whips involved is this one takes a lot more effort to do the tail whip. You have to be prepared to bunny hop and spin your arms a lot harder than you would on flat ground or that embankment we just did. I'm gonna give you guys an example on this side of the hip and the other side of the hip, which would be a downside tail whip, which some people say is easier. I actually think it's harder, especially for the people that aren't comfortable with going their opposite direction on a hip. So now with the downside tail whip, you really want to be comfortable with traveling your opposite direction on a hip. With this part of the trick, you have to meet the bike halfway. So you're spinning your body your opposite direction and kicking your bike downward, hence downside tail whip, and you're meeting your bike halfway. And I'm gonna try to give you guys the best example, and all this is trial and error. There's no real difference between me showing you on flat ground or that embankment or this hip. This is just a lot of trial and error and commitment. The bunny hop tail whip you learn on flat ground comes into play with any embankment. Now as we move on to the quarter pipes, totally different ball game. It takes way less effort and a little more controlled spin with your arms. Now with this next part, you want to be really controlled and comfortable in quarter pipes. You want to be confident in the fact that you can air and land smooth every single time. Now with the quarter pipe tail whip, I do not recommend you putting your feet down like you did on the embankment earlier. A lot can go wrong with that. Basically, if you've made it to the quarter pipe portion, you are fully committed with getting that bike around and getting your feet on the pedals. There's several ways that people do air tail whips. A lot of people, when they're learning them, feel more comfortable with traveling from one sheet to the other. And the only downside with that is a lot of people end up clipping their back wheel. So they'll go up off the edge and they'll go to do the tail whip and they'll clip their back wheel on the coping and land really low or fall. What I do is I try to go up one sheet, but more to one side, and I try to do a small alley-oop. And for those of you guys that don't know what an alley-oop is, it's where you're going up the quarter pipe and you're kind of carving backwards and you're making yourself drift backwards slightly. And what that will do is that'll generate twice as much power in that spin for that tail whip. So the tail whip will become effortless, and all you have to do is focus on that controlled air that you learned before doing the tail whip. I'm gonna give you guys an example of both air options with and without the tail whip real quick. So now I'm gonna show you guys the difference in effort that it takes to do a tail whip traveling and a tail whip sitting in one spot. All right, so with that last tail whip, I feel way more comfortable going straight up and doing a slight alley-oop to do the tail whip. Now I like doing the alley-oop, that slight alley-oop a lot more. Like I said before, that quarter pipe does all of the work, so where all you have to do is focus on getting those feet on the pedals and riding away smooth. All right, so for this next portion, we're gonna do the tail whip on top of the box jump and then safely go across to the landing. I'm gonna show you guys the difference and what you guys should expect on trying to do the tail up to the deck. It's gonna feel a lot different than doing it on those wedge ramps. If anything, it's gonna feel a lot easier, and your problem might be the fact that the bike comes around way faster than it did before. Now with that, you guys are all gonna have that same issue where the bike feels like it just kind of gets away from you because the lip actually does all of the work. So like I said before, keeping your chest over top of the stem so you can see those pedals coming around and landing your feet safely on the pedals. So now the next step would be trying to gauge the speed that you would need to make it through the landing. So what I encourage you guys to do a bunch of straight jumps. See how comfortable you are jumping across at awkward angles with less speed, more speed. Try to use the pump to your advantage. All right, so this next part, you guys have made it to the deck of the ramp, but your only problem is you're trying to get the speed to make it all the way across. What you want to do now is try to gauge how fast you want to go to hit the lip to the landing. This doesn't matter if it's this box jump here or the box jump at your home park. You want to feel comfortable jumping that box jump before trying to send it all the way across. So I'm going to show you guys what I do to speed check a jump before I do a tail whip. All right, so what I like to do is I try to jump it and I land a little bit further and further on the deck each time. Sometimes I won't make it to the landing. Other times I'll case it really bad, like in the middle, or I'll case it closer and closer and closer to the edge until I find the speed that's appropriate. Now, once you've successfully found the speed that you need for that box jump, the only thing there is to do now is send the tail whip and commit, because you can't half-ass it jumping from the lip, do the tail whip and keep casing, because you're gonna risk blowing your feet off the pedals and getting ejected all the way to the flat bottom. So we're gonna give you full commitment right now. Like I said before, this might not come first try, second try. Sprite really wants to, interject in this video right now. Now, like I said before, this might not come first try or second try, or even 10 tries. Committing is key. If you fall, you get back up, you keep trying, you press forward, and you're gonna land this tail whip. After this video, you are gonna land this tail whip. Alright guys, that's the end of this tail whip tutorial. I hope you were able to take something away from this video and learn how to do a tail whip on your own. Feel free to drop a comment below on what you guys want to learn next. This how-to series will be as often as you guys want to learn tricks. This is one of 2 series I want to do for this channel. This will be the how-to series, and if you guys haven't already seen, I'm doing a Will It Ride series. In the description below is a link to the latest video on the pool noodle tires, so feel free to click that link after this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.